Hello and happy Friday, and welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party. My name is Mother Banjo, one of your hosts. Our other host, Anthony Ihrig, is off gigging in Iowa, but I'm so excited because joining us today on the show is our friend Rich Mattson. Yay!
Hey,
And we're so happy to have you here and joining us from Sparta, Minnesota, up north. And it looks like folks are ready for the party today. Wiley joining us from Fairfax, Virginia. And he says it's sunny today on the East Coast. And well, we're very happy for those of you who are not on the East Coast and it might not be sunny. It's going to be pretty sunny when we get into this music today. So we're excited. We have Joe checking in from South Minneapolis with high expectations and a founder's lager by my side. All right. Yes. Tell us what you are enjoying on your Friday afternoon. It is happy hour, as it is every Friday at 4 on the Back Catalog Listening Party. Chris is joining us from Savage, Minnesota with an Uda Pills Pale Ale. Connie checking in from Richfield, and our good friend Becky Schlegel joining us from Orinoco. And Rich, are you enjoying any kind of beverage on your Friday afternoon?
well, I've got a long night ahead, so I'm enjoying a nice glass of water
Excellent.
and some kombucha.
Excellent. That all sounds great. And I am enjoying, in your honor, I'm enjoying a brew from up north. Um, I don't know how many miles away it would still be. Still a ways, I guess, but Two Harbors, Castle Danger.
Oh, Castle Danger.
Yeah, the dark chocolate
The
George
good
Hunter
stuff.
Stout. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
I like that one.
yeah. So cheers, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Looks like my mom joining us from New Haven, alternating Sunday, sunny and cloudy in Connecticut. Well, wherever you are tuned in from, welcome to the show where we invite our favorite artists on to revisit old records. And Rich Mattson, so excited you could join us today because I feel like, in addition to being a big fan of your music, and you've been a part of so many great bands over the years. You've also have a wonderful studio up in Sparta, which we're going to talk more about. But I feel like you've had a hand in recording many of the projects that we've featured on on this show over the last
Cool.
159 episodes that we've been doing this. So
Excellent.
we're really happy to have you here. And maybe for people who aren't as familiar with your music, maybe you could share a little like 2-minute origin story of, where you grew up and how you fell into making music, and then maybe what led up to this particular solo release we're going to talk about.
Well, I grew up in Evelyn, Minnesota, and I've always loved music. I got into playing music as soon as I could, as soon as my fingers could get around the guitar. Probably at the age of about 13, I started playing guitar and bass, and had to get where the action was, and wound up in Minneapolis for about 18 years through the late 80s, early 90s, and then kind of came full circle at 39 years old. I wound up back in Evelyn, uh, and I started this recording studio in Sparta in an old church, and that's where I'm at now. I'm still playing music, still recording bands. Well, actually, I recorded bands in Minneapolis too. That's part of the story.
Hmm. Excellent. And this album we're going to talk about today, Inspiral Notebooks, came out in 2007. It's a solo project. You had played in various bands over the years. What made you decide to make this particular solo recording?
Um, I had the Glen Russells from 1988 until around 1999. We played together, and then after that, I had the band Old Yeller. And the thing is, when I write songs, I usually will make a demo version of them, and the demo version, I'll just that'll be for my bandmates to check out the tune and see if they like it and learn how the structure goes and the arrangement. So I don't really change the arrangement too much from the demo to the finished product and the way we play it live. And a lot of these songs that wound up on my solo album were kind of leftovers, stuff that I really liked, but they didn't really transfer to the band situation.
Hmm.
I just wanted to get them out somehow, and
Nice.
it turns out in all the years doing this, that's the only solo album I ever put out.
Hmm. Well, I can't wait to dig into these songs with you and to talk more about both the songwriting and the recording. And we're gonna start with the first song that you picked to feature from the record is "So Many Faces." Is there anything you want to say about this before we take a listen?
This one is pretty raw. A lot of these, I just started off. I have a 4-track reel-to-reel recorder, and I would start with drums, and then I would do the acoustic guitar and vocal, and then I go back and do bass and maybe a backup vocal, and then the fourth track would be for lead guitar and maybe another vocal or whatever else I could think of that I could do at the same time to fill up the fourth track. And this one's real. It's real stark. It's kind of a, I don't know. It's just a kind of a weird tune. 2 chords through the whole thing, and that's another thing that I never do is just a 2-chord song. Oh no, no. The band. There we go.
Well, you know what? I guarantee people are not going to fall asleep to this one. That's the one promise I make. So, unless they've really had a lot of George Hunter stouts before the episode started. So, let's take a listen to it right now. This is "So Many Faces" from Rich Mattson here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
You got so many faces, I've seen you in so many places. Still I can't remember your name. You look good, but you don't look the same. You got so many faces. I would head first into it, and according to her I blew it. Still you can't be a friend who's me. I'm the most boring drunk you've ever seen. You can't take me nowhere, I'm so green. I fall head first into it. I never talked to those faces, but I met your dealer, he's aces. The first hand he dealt was a flush. Turned him over and felt such a rush. Now I forget about our mutual crush and the night spent in your bush. You got so many faces. I think it's high time that I let go. I saw a bluebird in a tree at the get-go, and now we torture each other in limbo. It's hard to sleep next to us, such simple. And you always were an excellent sinner, but that was way back when I was a beginner, and I would cast off the dark with my spinner. Your old lady would roll up a pinner. You got so many faces.
I haven't heard that in a long
All
time.
right. Yeah, that was Rich Mattson from his 2007 album Inspiral Notebooks. That was "So Many Faces." And so, did you do all the parts on that track, all the instrument parts?
Yeah, that one is only 4 tracks for sure, and I dabble in drumming, and I don't know, I can keep a beat, and there's actually one coming up that I can't even believe I played the drums on it because it's just it's like, whoa, what are you doing? So stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's 4 tracks on a cruddy old quarter-inch tape that probably got used a few times. You can kind of hear that. They're not all like that. Some of them I did on
Recycling.
16
Yeah.
tracks, but all the songs were recorded on tape. And the title Inspiral Notebooks, it's just because all all I've ever done far as lyrics, I always keep a spiral notebook.
Mm,
So and then remember the band Inspiral Carpets? I
yeah.
always thought that was a cool band name. I like Inspiral. And there was like one or two reviews of this album. It really kind of got ignored and I didn't promote it very well at all. But there was a review where they called it Inspirational Notebooks. I'm like, oh God, they're totally missing the point. Because inside, I have a copy here, and I put inside that there's my handwritten lyric sheets on from my spiral notebooks.
Uh-huh.
These are the actual
Wow.
first draft of the words, and you can kind of see it.
And I think we have,
Yeah.
let's see. I think there we go. I think
Oh,
that those are some of your
that's my jam there. In the Glen Russell's days, I took a magic marker and I did the whole entire van
wow.
with those swirls. Well, I couldn't get it down towards the bottom of the van because it was so rusted out. But probably about 3/4 of the van, I sat and swirled that whole van with this big fat magic marker. And
Wow.
the sad thing is I never took a picture of it. But back in
Wow.
those days, you had to pay for pictures.
Yeah. Well, Connie wanted to know about the cover art, and I feel like this is kind of related to that. I'm gonna see
Yeah.
if I can pull that up here too while you're while you
Uh,
talk about it.
yeah, Laura Bennett did the cover art. There it is.
Yep.
Yeah. So this was 2007. This was a while back, and now Dan Israel's latest album also has Laura Bennett cover art. It's completely different, but it got me thinking about this Inspiral Notebooks album,
Yeah, was
and
this sort of inspired by some of your sort of doodles, like having those kind of circles?
I think I sent her some stuff to look at, or just something. I think I sent her the music and maybe some of those swirls and stuff like that just to get her going. And I don't know, she had a lot of this type of art that she was doing at that time, and I just love it. I love it.
Mhm.
And yeah, she's still putting out great stuff, and she's just one of my favorite artists of all time, especially out of Minneapolis. And it was an honor to have her do this cover.
Yeah, it's really
And she
great.
specifically did it for me, and yeah, I just love it.
That's awesome. Well, Joe was commenting on sort of the sound of the recording. He said, "Recorded in Minnesota, Northern Boy, but this could be a Jim Morrison song, dark and ominous." It is true. It has kind of that sort of, and it's probably because of the tape,
Yeah,
the kind of the lo-fi-ness of it, but it does have that sort of a sort of vintage quality to it.
I feel like Jim Morrison and I kind of have the same vocal range. Maybe it's like a baritone.
Yeah, yeah, very
I
cool.
I could do a good imitation probably.
Well, it looks like Craig is joining us as well. Good
Hey, Craig.
afternoon. And if you are just joining us here at the Back Catalog Listening Party, let us know where you're tuned in from, if you're enjoying a beverage or a snack as part of your musical happy hour. And if you have questions as we go throughout today's show, questions for Rich about the songs, the recording, his doodles, any of that. And how you go about recording this and any studio questions that you have for Rich because he has a rich knowledge of all things studio, whether talking about, 4-track recording, tape recording, or do you record anything digitally now? Are you doing a lot
Yeah,
of
no,
digital recording?
it's been on the computer for the past, I don't know, 10 or 12 years. I think I was kind of a holdout. I used tape as long as I could, as long as it was available to me. But
Hmm.
the last tape machine I used was a Tascam 16-track 1-inch machine, and that really held up for a lot of years. I had that from 1999 to 2011. I think
Hmm.
I used it constantly in use, and that's what most of these songs were recorded on, that 16-track. I keep that 4-track 1/4 inch around though. That's great for demos. I love the sound of that. But now it's pretty much all digital. I just got real proficient at using the computer far as like editing and the stuff you can do on it, and it just saves a lot of time.
Yeah. And we have some pictures here, which I want to share of the studio up in Sparta. And here we go.
Yeah, that's the control room as I was building it. That's when I finally got everything in place and in the control room. That was probably like 2006, early 2006, when I finally got that together.
And yeah, tell us a little bit about this space you have in Sparta again, where you live, where you have the studio. You know, it's an interesting building because it wasn't always a studio.
It wasn't always a studio. It was an Apostolic Lutheran church.
Ah,
That's
is
what it
this
looked
it?
like the first time I looked at it. I snapped some pictures, and that's what it looked like when I first looked at the place. And in August of 2005, I looked at it, and I was overwhelmed with how perfect it would be for a recording studio. And at the time, I had a studio in a garage in Northeast Minneapolis called Flower Pot.
Mm-hmm.
And I started recording professionally in around 92, and that was in South Minneapolis. It was I guess it was semi-professional because there was a lot of goofing around going on.
You could say that's probably true for most studios that there's always
Yeah, there's still a lot of goofing around going on. I have a
um,
lot nicer gear now anyway.
so this is
Yeah,
when in the transition time
doing the
between
construction.
church and
I have
studio.
this big pile of pews back there. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
And my mom helped me put those on eBay, and that was kind of the startup money for the whole operation. I didn't have money saved up. I don't come from any money, you know. It's just I never thought in a million years that I'd be back on the Iron Range. Honestly, I never had any intention of it, but the stuff that I was going through at the time, just and looking at this building is really what brought me back here. And it was a beautiful summer day. I was up visiting my mom and family, and I saw this listed, and I said, I'm going to go look at that church. And I looked at it, and I'm like, this is what I should do with my life.
Oh, it's so great. And so how many years now have you been up in Sparta and
Going on 18 years.
wow.
Which is crazy because I spent 18 years in Minneapolis, and now I'm back here for another 18 years, and it does not seem like the same amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And I don't know how many albums you've recorded at Sparta, but it's a lot.
I never counted how many albums have come out of here, but there's a list on my website of pretty much everyone I've recorded. I need to update it because it's just this year I made a list to tell you. This is in 2023. I've got, let's see, That's What You Get, Pocket Knife, Boss Mom and the Jebber Hooch, Dave Rave, The Splints, The Pretendians, Gold Minefield, The No Notes, Sam Wyant, New Salty Dog, Craig Paquette, Josh Palmy, Northeast Timberland Band, Keith Sokola, December Wind, Baby Eyes, and Terry Walsh. So I'm keeping it real busy this year.
Yeah, and some of those names will sound familiar because they've been guests here on the Back Catalog Listening Party, and today one of those folks, Craig, is actually joining the party. So
yeah, Craig's album just came out.
Yeah. So kudos to Craig. And I just posted a link to where folks can find out more about Rich's music, and there's links to Sparta Sound and all those good things. So you can check that out. And let's see. Dan says, St. Paul caught you for the first time. Oh, he's tuned in from St. Paul, caught you for the first time at VFW. Other than seeing you in Duluth, get on stage with the Westies. And speaking of Duluth, it is the Homegrown Festival this week, and I hear that you're going to be over there.
That's where we're going tonight. Jermaine and I are going to get in the van after this interview and head on down. Our show is at 10:15 tonight at RT Quinlan's, and we were there last night for a house party, and Wednesday night we were out on the town, and I tell you, Homegrown is hopping.
It's back, huh?
I don't know where all these people come from. This is jamming. Every place you go to, it's just packed.
It's so
people
great.
are just loving the music. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, the Homegrown Fest is it like a full week?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 7 days.
And it takes place in Duluth at all these different venues, and it's all kinds of music. And
Mhm,
yeah, it's cool the way it really takes over the town. It really
mhm.
feels like. So and folks can find out more information. I'm pretty sure there's a website for it. I'll try and scare it up and post it in the comments
Yeah,
for folks if they want to check that
got my
out.
wristband.
And Chris had a question about a studio question. Do the visiting musicians lodge at the studio?
Yeah,
That's
mhm.
awesome.
Yeah, there's a loft above the control room, and then there's a couple of mattresses that I'll bring in, and people just sleep amongst the gear, and
Nice.
and I just make sure everybody's comfortable and happy, and make sure everybody gets a good night of sleep, because sometimes that first day you get caught up in it,
Mhm.
and people will be up at till 2 or 3 in the morning. I'm like, you guys, we're gonna work all day
Pace
tomorrow.
yourself.
Let's 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 call it a night, huh?
For
It's so much
sure.
fun. It's really a
Oh,
good time.
that's awesome. Uh, let's get another track from your record. Inspiral Notebooks is the album we are revisiting today, Rich Mattson's solo record. It came out in 2007. And the next track that you picked to feature today is Mobius Strip.
Oh boy.
What
Talk
do you
about
want to say about this?
yeah.
Or do you want to say anything about it before we take a listen?
This I don't know, something about this recording. There's no way a band could try and reproduce this, because it's just such a weird tune, and I don't know. It was inspired by a night I was playing a solo gig in Duluth, and this and I had I think it was a mixed drink sitting there next to me, and he threw a tab of LSD in this drink. And I'm like, ah, and I'm going, dude, you have no idea. I've done that plenty of times, and I'm done with it. And he was giving me some shit for it. Anyway, that was the spark that got this song going, and then I kind of ruminate on some wokeness, that happens with someone who's experienced later in the song. But it's one of those songs, and Mobius Strip, it's because it's a real repetitive loop, so it's kind of, and I talk about how just life goes on and on, and anyway, full
Excellent.
circle, back and
Excellent.
forth.
Well, we will take a trip to the Mobius Strip right now, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party. This is Rich Mattson.
One, two, three.
I've been on every state of the continental USA. I've been on every stage watching losers die of pain. And I've drank in your bars, and I've tripped so hard on your LSD and your mushroom tea. And your Hawaiian wood rose seeds almost poison me. So don't be dosing my drink, you fucking college kid, getting into the Grateful Dead. I can't believe that's still okay. I guess I'm not that old. It was only just yesterday Jerry Garcia passed away. He was pretty cool to say, and I believe it was. I've read the interviews, him and his mountain girl, they had that pure excuse. Why can't we start something new? Why can't we originate as everything been done? Just look at history. Has anybody been mean? Have they seen through me? Have I been done before? The answer's four, it's four. I've been on every state of the continental USA. I've been on every stage, watching losers fake. And I've drank in your bars, and I've tripped so hard on your LSD. Your mushroom tea.
Haven't heard that one in a while either.
Wow.
It's
And
funny because these are supposed to be demos, and you know, playing them for everybody. Even today, I kind of go, "Ooh," you know, it's just.
but it kind of has this great raw quality that seems fitting for at least the songs we've heard so far, and that song in particular because it has this sort of trippy vibe, which seems appropriate given that, you know, talking
Yeah,
about
if I were to redo
LSD
that,
and
yeah, if I were to try and redo that in a a professional setting, I don't think it would have anything. It wouldn't come close to whatever happened there. I don't know.
yeah.
And I drive around in the car listening to all these tunes, you know, as I do with any album I release. I'll listen to it a million times, I think.
Mhm.
And that one, I don't know, I was just so alone, and I had just moved into this place, and I remodeled it into a studio. I just kind of wondering, what the hell am I doing? Is it going to work out? I don't know. And I was just all by myself. I was recently divorced, and single 40-year-old guy on the Iron Range going,
So is this album also a little bit of that inspired by that, like sort of the descent into
yeah, as really just not knowing
solitary confinement
what
of
was going to
sorts?
happen next, and I just kind of wanted to get these tunes off my plate and move forward, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, Josh is dropping in from Baltimore, and he says, "Clap, clap, clap." So, and if any of you out there listening have any questions for Rich or comments on the music, or want to share your thoughts or tell us where you're tuned in from, feel free to throw something in the comments. And what I'm going to throw into the comments right now is where you can get Rich Mattson's music, because it is Bandcamp Friday. For those of you who don't know, the first Friday of every month, bandcamp.com, which is a wonderful website to buy music and artist merch. They waive their fees and give 100% of the sales to artists. And so today is that happy day. The best, I think every Friday is special here at the Back Catalog Listening Party, but Bandcamp Fridays is a special Friday. And you can get all of Rich Mattson's music there, including the album we are revisiting today. His album Inspiral Notebooks is available on CD.
I
And
still have some copies on CD.
And you can get digital tracks. And also, I hear that, Rich, you also have some vinyl up, not of this release, but of some others.
So the last two Rich Mattson and the North Stars records came out on vinyl. Still got a few copies of those. And yeah, what we're listening to today, it's not super representative of the sound of my band. This is a real experimental kind of freaky little record.
So if you want to hear
Notebooks.
Rich doing being on the straight and narrow with
Yeah,
a
you can
full
listen to
band.
all the bands that I've been in. I make sure that all of my music that I've ever released is still available, and it's all on Bandcamp. Even Glenn Russell stuff is on Bandcamp. It's on a different page than all the other stuff. I have that one on a separate Bandcamp page, but all the Tisdales, all the stuff that I've recorded with Jermaine, and all the North Star stuff, it's all on
Excellent.
Bandcamp. But there's actually 3 volumes of demo material on there that I put out 10 years ago.
Oh wow!
All the demos of like Old Yeller songs and Glenn Russell songs, I put those into Bandcamp because why the hell not?
Yeah, that's so awesome. So you can check that all out at
40 songs.
spartasound.bandcamp.com. And again, that link is in the comments. And Wiley says, after you told that story about sort of being all alone in the Iron Range and your new home in Sparta, he said that song was reminiscent to me of John Lennon's Isolation.
Well, thank you.
So yeah, definitely share your comments and thoughts and questions as we go throughout the show today. And I do want to, let's see, the next song that you are wanted to feature is Happy, Happy, Happy. And I have to say it that way because it's written that way.
That's how the chorus goes. Happy, 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 happy.
So is there anything you want to say about this tune?
Yeah, this one, I think we tried playing this with Old Yeller, and it just I don't know. There's something about the arrangement that wasn't clicking, and it just, I don't know, trying to play it and learn the song with the band, it got frustrating because I couldn't remember how it went. And and there's a lot of words, and it was hard to look at the lyric sheet and play the chords. And I said, let's move on. So, and I don't know, a lot of these I've never even performed them live in front of an audience. This is the only way they exist is on this CD and on the digital.
That's so interesting. World. So this is the only place you're ever going to hear them is on this album.
I don't know. I like how this song turned out on this record, and it's pretty lo-fi sound, but it's kind of, I don't know, I like it.
Excellent. Well, we're going to give it a listen. This is Rich Mattson with Happy, Happy, Happy here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Diamond wool, all these new heartbreaks. Now everywhere I go I see this new country. It ain't exactly good, it ain't exactly bad. Just noticing how everybody looks so sad.
Wanted to play again.
Yeah.
That was Rich Mattson with Happy, Happy, Happy here on the back catalog listening party from his 2007 solo album, Inspiral Notebooks. And you mentioned that you had originally brought it to Old Yeller to perform. Is that right? And it just didn't
Yeah.
fit the band. I can kind of hear why you would have brought it to that band.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like something that they might have done, but I don't think it would have had the same vibe at all.
Yeah, there's that little part with it's a big muff. And there's two bass tracks. One of them has the big muff and it's going doo doo doo. And I hate when I have to sit there and go, no, you got to play it like this, doo 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 doo. And then they go meow, meow, and I'm like, well, that'll work, And so I mean, I like to give my bandmates some freedom,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but that recording, see, sometimes you get hung up on the demo, and that's how you want the band to play it, and they're not going to play it like that,
Right.
and you gotta let go. But for some reason that one, I just wanted to hang on to it and just release it as is. And I
Yeah.
tell you, listening to it now, I'm kind of going, my voice doesn't even sound like that anymore. I think I learned how to sing after that album came out.
Yeah.
Well, it's one thing, I quit smoking, so
Mhm.
that's a good. I think my voice got better after
Well,
that.
and when you listen back to these songs, you were talking about how, you were all alone in your new space in Sparta, um, you know, maybe having a slight existential crisis. When you hear
Yeah.
these songs now, do you kind of go back to that time, or do you look back on it a little more fondly as just a creative time?
I look back on it fondly. I mean, it was really kind of flying by the seat of my pants. I started a band with my brother and my cousin because they were both up here. They had returned to the Iron Range before me, and we called our band the Prodigal Sons. And that was a large part of my income, just going around playing covers in this three-piece band with my brother and my cousin. And I tell you, we just play anything, whatever the crowd wanted to hear. Brown Eyed Girl, here you go. You want us to play it again? Sure, we'll do it again. This good time music, and we had a good time. It was really fun. But the studio's come a long way. I mean, I think about the gear that I had then, and just the way things were set up. And of course, uh, once Jermaine came into my life, the place got a lot prettier and a lot more homey and comfortable.
Yeah, and now, of course, with all the visiting bands who camp out at the studio and for a week and make a records, it's
Mhm.
I've had the pleasure of visiting Sparta before, and it's a kind of a magical space that you all have created up there.
The thing about Sparta, uh, it's a location. There's a lot of those on the Iron Range where people have had to be uprooted and the whole neighborhoods get taken down and then they mine for iron ore
Mhm.
where the town used to be. And I don't think that's going to happen to Sparta, but the leases were up on the land where the neighborhood was just out my back door. I get to stay where I'm at, but just out my back door and beyond was a whole neighborhood of people, and the leases were up in 2018, I believe. And when they told me when I bought this place, they said that everybody's going to be moving out down there. I'm like, oh, really? And I didn't think much of it because growing up on the range, I've seen it happen. Anyway, long story short, eventually all these houses were vacant. So I was literally living in a ghost town and just walking the dog back there and watching these houses kind of rot. And every once in a while you get a little extra nerve and you just go peeking around in these abandoned houses and they're all just falling apart and people go back there and vandalize or break windows or dump garbage or whatever, and it was kind of a mess.
Mhm.
But that's very interesting.
Yeah.
A neat place to be. And now
Well,
it's all cleaned up and I mean it's just a big forest, but ah,
yeah, and speaking of cleaning things up, I have seen on like Facebook and Instagram, I've seen that you and Jermaine uh have a patch of highway that you take care of,
Adopt
that
a
you clean
highway.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's one of those things I used to see this stretch available or this section available, and I'm like, I should get an adopt a highway. I can't stand litter. You know, when I see garbage like it, this time of year, there's trash everywhere,
Mhm.
and it just I don't know. It's always gotten under my skin. I just
So
don't
which
like it. So I'm doing my part.
so which patch of highway is yours?
It's a little ways south of Eveleth on Highway 53.
Excellent. So
and we keep after it. We go down there a couple times a year, and it's kind of wild. It's usually just no matter what, it's always kind of windy, and you're walking down the side of the highway, and it's really noisy, and you're picking up the trash, and like, hey, I need another bag, and stuff, and get a bag out and have a snack. And
awesome.
it's 2 miles both ways, so 2 miles this way, and then we.
Have you ever written have you
Yeah.
or Jermaine ever written a song while cleaning up the highway?
Nah.
No.
Actually, somebody said that we should write a song about Adopt a Highway.
Yeah.
That's a fun idea.
Kind of jingle.
Maybe we'll get around to that.
Well, if you've been enjoying conversation about highway cleanup, studio recording, making songs in the wilds of Sparta, Minnesota, and of course the music, we want to encourage you to fill up Rich's tip jar. So you can throw something in via PayPal or Venmo, and it's also in the comments, so that you can help them make that Adopt a Highway jingle, maybe, or whatever musical project is next, or studio updates are needed. And I do want to take this moment too to thank some of the other folks that keep this show happening, because and we still have time for more music, so have no fear. But I do want to thank our patrons. These are the folks that keep this party going from week to week, and have been keeping it going for this is our 160th episode today. Thanks to these folks who support it. And we want to thank Penny, Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Alan, Chris, Alex, Becky, Galen, Peggy, Joe, Jim, Beverly, and John, Fred, Tim, Sarah, David, Jocelyn, Court, Matt, Steve, Mark, Homestead, Pick and Parlor, Severin, Lynn, Mary, Many Tracks, Nikki, Joni, David, Sarah C., and our newest patrons that came in last week, CJ and Wiley. Thank you so much for being a part of the back catalog listening party. And if you want to join this community and support the show and get the inside scoop before anyone else as to who's coming up on the show, we have special private Zoom after parties with some of our guests and live streams, so you can check that out there. But good news is we still have time for more music. So I think we have time for, because I think they're short enough. I think we might have time for 2. What do you think, Rich?
I think this next one is just under 2 minutes.
Yeah. So I think we can do it. So
it's a banger. This is the one I was talking about. I did the drums first, and I don't know how I even played drums on this thing. It's I don't know. I think it's a pretty good drumming.
Yeah.
And then there's all these guitar harmonies and stuff, and yeah, it was just one of those songs that just could never be duplicated. So
excellent. Well, let's crank it up, and we're gonna enjoy Halfway Home Together by Rich Mattson on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
It's like invisible now. My communication is way out filter. Seeing everything through a cycle filter. Now I have to say you made a mistake. But in my dreams I see anything I want, but I don't remember who I'm talking to. The messages of your life you say are beating and cheating. They taint all your memories. It's not fair, it's still there. You live for the memory. That's how we push outward, that's how what you halfway home. Yeah, halfway home once the choice is there. Why could your mind give you the wrong directions? Find something exciting like being lost. There's no fun, you're half done, you go home and you go down. Get back up and what's up, you see there's something going down. Press onward, push It's like you're invisible now. Your communication's way out there. Singing things feels like now you gotta know you made a mistake.
And that's how that one goes. Thank you very much.
All right. That was Rich Mattson with Halfway Home. And what do you I think that was some pretty good drumming too. So you had said that you were
louder in the mix, but
well, of course, yeah, the studio ears, now that you're listening back, there's always things you would have changed. But you had said that you had kind of dabbled in drumming. Did you have time to explore all these instruments a bit more when you kind of were moved up to Sparta?
yeah, it seems like I had a lot more time then, a lot more time to goof around, and I think after this came out, I really went nuts with the 4-track. I mean, I recorded a whole bunch of songs on that thing, and like I had said earlier, I'd do drums or maybe acoustic guitar, drums, and then a guitar and vocal, and then a bass, and then a lead guitar and a background vocal or whatever. And a lot of those songs wound up being tunes that we played with the Tisdales. And that was a group that I started with a bunch of guys from Duluth. Well, actually, the drummer's from Evelyn, but yeah, he moved to Duluth later. But yeah, the Tisdales, and the Tisdales made 3 albums and played around the state. We actually did one tour down to Texas and back, and the van barely made it, but we had the experience. We had a good time. And after that, then Ole Yeller did a brief reunion, and then we started the North Stars.
Excellent. And speaking of the North Stars, your current band, Chris mentioned that you have some shows coming up in July in the Twin Cities area. And I know you guys are always pretty busy, but if folks want to check that out, you can go to richmattsonmusic.com. There's a link somewhere in the comments. Yeah.
Got a show July 7th at Palmer's Bar.
Nice.
On the patio.
On the patio. Yeah, that's a great spot. And so you can check out where he's playing on his website. And Joe wanted to say everybody was right in the pocket on these tracks. By everybody, that was you, right, Joe? Right, Rich?
Yeah. Yeah.
All of you were really, really in tune with each other.
Thanks, Joe.
Chords were changing every measure right on time. So yes. So great stuff here. And if you have any last minute comments or questions for Rich, throw them in there, because we're going to play one more song and then we'll answer any last minute questions before we wrap up today. And the final song that you picked to feature today is Greener. Is there anything you want to say about this before we dive in?
Well, I didn't think this was much of a tune. It's real repetitive. Not a huge message to it. Everything's greener on the greener side. I don't know. For some reason, I thought that was a cool phrase, and I made it into a song real quick. But a friend of mine had me play at his kid's graduation party a couple of years ago, and he's like, "Can you play Greener? I love Greener." I'm like, "Really? That's your tune, huh?" He's like, "I love Greener. Play Greener." and I had to search for the lyrics, and like, oh, I don't know if I can remember. But once you get, I know the chords, but there's 7 verses or something. I'm like, all right, I'll play Greener. And then I don't know, it kind of validated the whole tune, just that this 18-year-old was his favorite song.
See, your comments matter. So
yeah,
give Rich some affirmations here. This is Greener. Rich Mattson on the back catalog listening party.
Everything's greener. Everything's greener. Everything's greener on the greener side. Take me to Portland. Put me on an airplane. Glad to meet you on the greener side. text from the greener side. Hang out with the feeling, singing and reeling. He sounds great on the greener side. Everything's greener, everything's greener, everything's greener on the greener side. Should we move here or there, in a quest for nothing but the greener side? Got my name in the phone book, still nobody calls me to hook me up into the greener side. Everything's greener, everything's greener, everything's greener on the greener side. Put me on an airplane, leaving and rocking, kicking some ass on the greener side. Hallelujah, praise the Lord, going to war with the greener side. Everything's greener, everything's greener, everything's greener on the greener side. Everything's greener, everything's greener, everything's greener on the greener side. Everything's greener, everything's greener, everything's greener on the greener side. Everything's greener, everything's greener, everything's greener on the greener side.
All right. That was up. The applause is still going. The back catalog
Going
listening
crazy.
party. And that was Rich Mattson with Greener. And I can see why that was a favorite. It's just like a good kind of anthemic tune.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I didn't do a pre-listen to. I just figured I'd wait until we were listening to it live on the show, and yeah,
Yeah. Well, it's that
cool to hear
song
again.
is from Rich Mattson's 2007 solo album, where all these tracks done by Rich Mattson himself, even though that song in particular has such a feeling of like a live like band playing in a garage, which is why it's so cool. But you can get this album. It's available today. Well, it's available all the time on Bandcamp. But when you get it today on Bandcamp, Rich gets 100% of those sales, and you can throw in a little extra if you like what you hear and you want to throw in a little tip. You can pay more than the requested amount. You can pick the album up on CD. You can get the digital tracks, and he also has some vinyl available as well. So you can check that out. And also, we got a question from Chris. What do you do on your Northland Rumble radio show?
Oh, wow. That's Saturdays on WTIP. That's the radio station in Grand Marais, Minnesota. WTIP.org. If you're not in Grand Marais or on the North Shore, you can listen to it at live, 6 o'clock Saturdays. And what we do, it's Jermaine and I, we go through our record collection and spin our favorites. Some stuff we get off the internet, but most of it's off our record collection. And I actually have my mom's old 45s, and I'll play those once in a while too.
Nice. So what's? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's a little bit of everything. We really mix it up.
Excellent. And do you know what's on tap for this week's show?
Yeah.
Sneak peek?
A sneak peek. Let's see. I think we started the show. See, we recorded at home and sent it there. We don't drive out to Grand Marais, a good 120 miles, so we send it to them. The first song I think is "The Times They Are Changing" by Bob Dylan.
Nice.
On this week's show.
Excellent.
Starts off with that, and then oh boy, we just did it too. What do we play on the show? Oh, we play a lot of Birds, and then we'll go into like new wave from the 80s, and then we'll go in like I'll throw on like a Blue Oyster Cult tune or and then we'll play a jazz tune, and mostly rock and roll.
Wonderful.
We go all over the place, reggae, whatever strikes their fancy, but we try to make it a consistent mix of good tunes.
Excellent. Well, you can go to check it out at WTIP.org. We put a link in the comments. And speaking of comments, Anne says, thanks, great music. And Joni says, thank you both for a wonderful show. Really enjoyed this album. And I really enjoyed chatting with you. It's been a minute since I've seen or talked to you, Rich.
Yeah,
and diving into this record was a revelation for me because I had never heard this album before today. So I'm more familiar with your stuff with either with your own band or with Old Yeller. So it's kind of cool to dig into these songs. And Joe says, this has been great, good fun. Yes, it has. And if you enjoyed it, then again, you can throw something in Rich's tip jar. You can buy that album. Again, today is Bandcamp Friday. Artists get 100% of sales. So this is a good time if you enjoyed Rich's music or some of our past back catalog guests. This is a good time to buy their music on Bandcamp. And
we appreciate it.
Yes, we all appreciate it. And I want to thank
this is all I do.
Exactly.
I try to do it well.
Keep the studio running. And I also, again, want to thank all of you for joining us today. The only way this show happens is because folks like you tune in and join the conversation. And folks like Rich agree to join us online and, revisit records they've made many years ago by songs they never play. And I really enjoyed chatting with you today, Rich. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me.
If you liked the episode, then give it the thumbs up, like it on YouTube, and direct more bots to Rich Mattson. Also, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel there, and you will get notified of who's coming up next week. And we have a really good one next week that I'm so excited about. So if you want to find out, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like us on Facebook and Instagram, and you can, again, join our Patreon as well as another great way of staying in touch with us. Thank you so much, Rich. It's been a real treat. Really, really enjoyed it.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah, and have fun at Homegrown. Safe travels. And everyone have a great week. And we'll see you back next week for another edition of the Back Catalog Listening Party with my co-host Anthony Ihrig returning back to the saddle. So have a great week, folks.